Now, the plenary session of the second day of the public forum offered trade facilitation, regional integration, and development of small and medium-sized enterprises as some of the elements that would help foster fair and inclusive growth in Africa. Our Aby Agina has been following the day's proceedings and now joins us live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Aby, it's good to see you. Good afternoon. What's going on?
Well, many thanks, Sophia, back in studio. We're coming to you from KICC, where currently the plenary session is underway, where the various member countries of the WTO are making their presentation of their statements. We've had a number of ministers already making their statements, including the Permanent Secretary for Kenya, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, who is now joining us to give us more perspectives on so far what has been happening. Many thanks for joining us, Daktari.
Thank you very much.
Looking at today's sessions, what so far has transpired?
I think after the opening session yesterday, which was very successful, it was followed by a mandatory gala dinner, which was proudly sponsored by Kenya Association of Kenya Private Sector Alliance here at KICC. And what follows in the main plenary from today morning all the way to ceremony are country statements. Countries will come here and express their desire for the outcome of this Nairobi MC10. But in very many rooms, there are very many meetings on specific items that are taking place. This room is a meeting taking place on agriculture. We have a meeting that has been discussing issues of LDCs and many others. When you go to the boards that are giving the schedule of meetings, you will find that there are very many meetings. But here, we just reading country statements, which we read for a country in the morning. And the highlights of statement in the morning, first, besides the usual pleasantries of welcoming people here, is a declaration that we want the Nairobi MC10 to succeed, and success for a ministerial meeting like this is a declaration. So we are very firm that out of Nairobi we must have a ministerial declaration, and what follows next then is what is the content of the ministerial declaration. If you listen to the country statements over and over and over, there are sticking issues, and those are issues that must be covered in the declaration. There is the issue of the Doha round of 2001, whether or not it should die in Nairobi, and almost 100% of the countries that have done their presentations today are quite clear that they cannot allow the Doha development agenda to die in Nairobi. That's clear, meaning that it's one of the outcomes that we will want. The other sticking issue that's coming out here is about agriculture, because most of the countries that are developing or are LDCs, the mainstay of the economy is agriculture. So we are very clear that the issue of agriculture support that's provided by the developed countries is an issue that must be addressed. Export subsidies, subsidy to farm inputs, these are things that must be addressed, because this is one of the biggest market distorting factor provided by the developed countries. Then the other issue that we are talking about here is the issue of the LDCs. It must be addressed, and I think if you listen to all the presentations, they are around reaffirming about continuation of Doha, and of course addressing the pertinent issues of agriculture and LDC.
Looking at some of the highlights, as you've mentioned, what does it mean in the event that the Doha round doesn't see to get much support in this conference? What does that technically mean? If you could break that down for us.
You know, WTO exists because it wants to regulate trade, provide fair play field for all the countries, regardless of their status of development. We will be lying to each other to think that after Nairobi, countries will not trade with each other. We will continue trading with each other, and that trade must be regulated by somebody, and that somebody is WTO. So I don't think there is even the remotest imagination that WTO is about to die. But because these are negotiations about trade, people have very diverse interest in this matter. When you're talking about agriculture, the interests are very diverse, and you can hear it from this room. Because the language that the developed countries will give is very different from the language that our country will give and the LDCs will give. And you heard even in the opening statement of our president yesterday, he specifically singled out agriculture because this is the elephant in the house. As long as we are not addressing the issue of agriculture, then these discussions have no meaning to especially the African group.
Correct.
But it's not just about agriculture because WTO is about market access. What are the other issues that must be give and take for us to accept to proceed with these discussions? But that there won't be a declaration, of course we are not giving that room. That there won't be a declaration. If that was to happen, it won't be the first time. But this meeting has been here and decisions shall be made. But post-Nairobi work program, will it exist? That's the big question.
PS, before I let you go, of course, agriculture constitutes a major income earner for Kenya, bearing in mind that we are an agricultural economy. Kenya currently is among the top exporter of some products like tea, coffee, as well as quite a number of other products. Looking at these discussions that will be happening today around agricultural subsidies, paint for us a picture of what we should expect and what sort of conversations are likely to be talked about in this.
You see, because after Doha round, the WTO members have been slow to sort out these issues. Even as I speak to you can hear the word agriculture from the speaker. What has happened is regional economic blocks have started going into economic partnership with others. Like EAC has already finalized a discussion with the EU in our EPA discussions so that we can be able to access that market on agricultural products. But all these meaningless arrangements if WTO moved quick enough, because then it would become a universal open market. But because of the slow pace of conclusion of this, you are finding COMESA, you are finding EPA. All these can be resolved if those issues are resolved very quickly, because they are addressing the same issue, market access.
Aside from agriculture, what sort of other breakthroughs are we looking at in this particular conference with specific reference to Kenya as we wind up?
You know, in the country, we are talking about, because you don't want to generalize, we have the issues of services. That is a sticking issue from the Doha round. We have the issue of industrial products. But once we cloud this in this discussion, then we lose out on the very important discussion. Our discussion is agriculture, it's agriculture, it's agriculture. The others are important to us, and we have their framework, but they are not as difficult as agriculture. And therefore, if agriculture is not progressing, it's pointless to progress with the rest. And this is clear for us. Yeah.
Many thanks there, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, the permanent Principal Secretary, I beg your pardon, for Foreign Affairs, giving us perspectives around this particular conference. He is quite optimistic that a Nairobi declaration will be achieved in this particular conference, indicating that Africa will be keenly monitoring to see how agriculture is addressed, bearing in mind that agricultural subsidies have affected exports from Africa into the developed countries. This is an area that could have significant developments in the Kenyan economy, with agriculture being one of the largest employers currently. This is just some of the discussions that we will continue to keep an eye for you here at KICC. More discussions will be coming on, but for now we take you back to Sophia Wanuna. My name is Aby Agina.